Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Lost and Chronologically Lost, where this time we have the greatest end of episode cliffhanger to ever exist.
Which one?
The one where Hurley is begging Jin to pee on his hand.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Which, by the way, first of all, they had us. First of all, that's for jellyfish. Second of all, that's a myth.
But this
Well,
is also
this
going to be
is-
one where we skip a lot of days again.
Yeah.
So
And it's a milestone episode for us in a way, because this is our 20th episode, and we've crossed a third of the way through Chronologically Lost, at least in terms of episode count.
yes, we are a third of the way through and still in season 1. But where do we begin with these episodes, Matthew?
Well, they are freaking out, realizing that Ethan's an imposter and that he might be going for Charlie and Claire, and I'm liking it. I think this was there was a lot of tension in this plot line. The first episode here, not episode 34 of Chronologically Lost, but the part of episode 34 that was originally one episode. That was maybe one of the best episodes yet for me.
Oh no, actually, I checked, and the end of episode 33 that we watched last time was the end of an actual episode. It ends with the cliffhanger of Ethan.
Yeah. So I was thinking
episode 34 begins fresh.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. This first, obviously at a certain point, we start a Kate episode, but before that is one of the best episodes to me.
Really, I found this episode to be on its own terrible. I know what the flashbacks that went alongside it were, and I'm like, okay, that's can make it a really good episode. This, I'm like, they really made a whole episode about just running through the jungle, huh?
See, in retrospect, I feel differently. While watching it, I was so into it, because the thing is, I thought maybe we would really start moving into an other's plotline, and instead, the next two episodes barely did anything with it. I was enjoying the tension, the finally getting some mysteries moving forward, and I was thinking, oh, are they going to track down the others? Are they going to find something? And they just failed.
This is season 1. Mysteries aren't moving forward at all.
So, in that mindset, yeah, it feels like it hyped me up and then didn't really deliver anything. So I see that criticism of it, but I also enjoyed the tension for what it was.
Yeah, that's fair. So I have to ask, for this whole thing of where the whole search party is running through the jungle looking for Claire and Charlie, what do you think the flashbacks were?
I am honestly not sure.
Do you even have an idea of what character they were about?
Man, could have been a Locke one. There was a lot of Locke.
It was a Jack flashback.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Can you guess which one?
No, I still can't guess which one because there are still so many Jack flashbacks. But I get that it
where he gets his father disbarred from practicing medicine.
All right, that's a good initial thing to set up.
It's a cool thing to set up, but I'm also like, how did that have anything to do with this episode?
It didn't. It definitely wasn't directly relevant, but this did have like a Jack climax with Jack. Like, it was a Jack moment to refuse to let Charlie die.
Oh, for sure.
So I think that's what they were going for. But sometimes, how are you going to tie in Jack getting his father's medical license revoked? That's just a thing you have to establish with Jack sooner or later.
I guess I will say they find some very contrived ways in order to tie the flashbacks together later. So
yeah, I mean we do get a mention somewhere here of Locke being a hunter, which ties into our favorite Locke flashback.
Oh my god! Don't remind me.
I can't wait to see what episode that was originally from and see how they try to tie that.
Okay, so yeah, this episode begins with everyone going on a search party to go look for the kidnapped people. Walt even wants to use Vincent as a search dog for it.
And Locke is sort of tracking things. I gotta say, I'm really enjoying just Locke being that competent guy, even if it doesn't make complete sense how he suddenly became that. Also, so I know the whole Claire plotline in the flashbacks was the baby has to be raised by her, and then I suddenly only realized here, like, oh, it's going to be important that she raises it and not the others.
Yes, that is very true. I will say, as you're talking about Locke being able to track and everything, they bring up that Kate is also able to track, if not as well. And this is a weird thing to me because some people, they point this out and they say, this is such a retcon that they gave Kate the ability to track just randomly. And when I heard that and I was rewatching, I was already in season 2 and I was waiting for it to come up as a retcon, but it comes up in episode 12. I'm like, that's not a retcon, that's just part of the show at that point.
That just at this point we barely know anything about Kate's backstory. You could just establish a thing like that. I think it honestly could have been a Kate backstory to see her learning to track with her dad, but they probably didn't want to use the child actress much.
Yeah, they shy away from the child actors.
Yeah, you could just establish that about her, and it's not like so many flashbacks aren't basically retcons.
Oh, exactly. Especially when only after the audience sees the flashback does that aspect of their characterization hit them on the island, even though it should have been there all along for them.
So here's kind of one of my thoughts about why I liked this episode, at least while I was watching it, is that I think this would have, if I watched it normally, I think this would have been the show's getting good point for me. Not that the beginning wasn't very impactful and it didn't have a strong premise from the start, but this was just the, oh shit, Ethan's an imposter, what's he doing? That, this would have been, I think this episode would have gotten me hooked more than I was before, even if it doesn't really deliver on the actual hype of seeing the others.
Yeah, see, it pretty much is, because, again, when they were making the show originally, they thought, we're for sure getting canceled halfway through the season. We're not making it. This is too expensive of a show. It's not going to draw in the people that need to justify it. And then it did. So it was like, oh, that's great. And so you can see these episodes were made more towards the tail end when Lost was a big hit. And they're like, okay, we can actually continue with this. So that's why you get the others sort of vaguely being introduced through Ethan, and you get the Hatch, which is going to be this huge thing, and I just...
Yeah,
that is such a J.J. Abrams type of thing of how... Yeah, it's literally a mystery box, a giant mystery box on an island. But
that's
you can't...
kind of the other thing about... For me, that's kind of the other thing that, I was so hyped during this episode, and then in the rest of these episodes we watched, that hype kind of faded away, because I was like, oh yeah, let's get this hatch open, and then the Kate episode, basically nothing happens with the hatch, and then for the rest in episode 35, they're not getting it open, and I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna happen soon at all.
Yeah, this is... Again, this is pretty much a pinnacle of why I dislike J.J. Abrams' writing, because I think of something and this is not going to be a fair comparison, I think of something like a show called The Good Place, if any of our listeners have seen that, where it would bring up something mysterious as a cliffhanger and oh my god, what is this? And the next episode, it's here it is, and it's insane what it is, amazing, or just hilarious or something. Again, it's a comedy, so it's not too fair to compare. And then it would move on, and then it would introduce the next thing, and it would go bam, 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 and it was way more engaging than J.J. Abrams of, look at this box, wonder what is in it for several episodes.
Yeah, and
I also don't know what's in it because I didn't plan ahead.
And I think it's okay if if the mystery is long term. It just feels like they're not even doing anything with it next episode.
I think the real issue for me is a lot of people will either say season 1 or season 2 is the best season. If you say season 1 is the best season, basically what I have to say is, why did you like all those really long, drawn out shots in every single episode that did nothing? That seems weird. And if you like season 2, you didn't. You liked the idea of season 2. Where
oh, can't wait.
When we get there, I'll
Alright.
I think I should just bring this up now, is because every season the writers have said what the season is about. It's a specific thing that each season is about. And season 1 is simple. Season 1 is about the survivors of the plane crash. That is what it's about. Which sounds like a good premise for season 1. Season 2 has the worst premise of any season, I will say.
Huh.
But we'll get there when we get there.
Talking so much about J.J. Abrams, that just reminds me. Do you remember when there would be occasional rumors that, J.J. Abrams was going to make a Portal movie for an adaptation of the game Portal? Stuff like that, and obviously it never happened. But I'm just thinking, I'm not going to spoil the ending of Portal because it's a classic, and there's the off chance you somehow still haven't played it or aren't into video games. But that's a game with a classic ending, a classic reveal. And if J.J. Abrams made a movie of it, it just wouldn't have that reveal at the end.
All I can think of is all the myriad of ways that he would ruin the story of Portal. I don't even think the story of Portal's that good, but it would be like a 7, and he would drop it down to like a 2.
Yeah.
Like,
all right. Anyway,
and then, you're gonna have all these people who are like, yeah, fuck J.J. Abrams, he ruined Star Wars. I'm like, no, he ruined Lost. That's what he did. He ruined season 1 of Lost. That's what he did to me.
Well, it's more like for your taste, other people unruined Lost.
Exactly, yeah. And then later writers came and fixed what he messed up with.
Well, anyway, let's move forward in the episode. I think Jack goes exploring on his own and Locke has to go back to get people. I'm just like, this is a terrible plan because Jack can't track people and Locke can, but if Jack goes ahead, Locke might accidentally end up tracking Jack's path instead of what they're actually trying to do. And then it turns out
Locke finds him right away because Jack's running in circles.
Yes, and I'm like, wow, that could have gone way worse. It's lucky Jack is that bad at tracking people.
Yeah. We also have Michael venting to Hurley about how Locke kind of just dismissed him from the search party.
That's playing into the whole thing of Michael resenting Locke because Walt's like, Locke is awesome. And this moment, Walt's child actor bad acting really hit me.
I don't know. I like him.
He's not always bad, but this was like a low point for his acting. He has had better scenes.
We get various pieces of guilt from both Locke and Jack, where Locke says, I should have recognized that something was up with Ethan because he was so amazing at hunting and tracking, even more than me, and it was unnatural.
Is weird to me because the others live in the Dharma compound. They don't seem like they need to do all that hunting.
Yeah, here's the thing, is they hadn't set that up yet. So, like, every other is supposed to just be a master hunter, tracker, nature liver person.
Yeah, also, like, he never sensed Ethan was, like, off, and I get that because you're not gonna sense someone is off and guess that they're secretly not from the plane. They could just be a weird person. But Ethan totally comes off as so weird.
Yeah, and then Jack, of course, he feels guilty that he didn't believe Claire.
Which I don't blame him for.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wouldn't have believed her. No, I honestly wouldn't have believed her either, so...
I think, I think if they had washed up on a normal island and that had happened, I wouldn't have believed her. But after you see a smoke monster pull a pilot out of a plane, I'm kind of just down to believe anything.
Well, for them, it's been a couple weeks since the smoke monster. What do they even know is real?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So Charlie's leaving them a trail, which is a good Charlie moment. Although was it supposed to be real or was it supposed to be Ethan faking it?
I think it was supposed to be real.
Well, good job, Charlie.
Because the one lock goes on leads them to the hatch instead. So I think it's meant to be real. Yeah, it has to be real, because otherwise why would Ethan say, stop following me? He would just let them wander around forever.
Yeah. And so in an earlier episode, we did see Charlie, like, writing on those bandages, right?
Yep, that was in the... when I go to check with flashbacks there, they also show what scenes they picked for previously on Lost, and one of them was literally Charlie writing on his bandages.
Yeah.
Just to be like, hey, remember that he did that thing?
Yeah, so they split up at the fork with the footprints and Charlie's signs, and I think splitting up's a bad idea, as we see later, in that Ethan can beat Jack's ass. If Locke was there, I think it'd have gone differently.
Well, yeah, it would have been a 2v1.
Yeah, and Locke has knives.
Yeah. So
I mean,
Walt
you know what they
is
say.
also
You know what they say. Like, man is happy as if he has two wives. No, you're thinking of someone with two knives.
such a.
It's a gag from The
I
Simpsons.
know it's a gag from The Simpsons. I've seen it. So Walt is filling in Sawyer about the situation, and so it's like, well, what if Ethan just lied about his name? And Walt just goes, it's
Walt is
stupid to
like-
lie about your name.
Yeah, shade. Walt is throwing shade. But Sawyer is just a skeptic about it all, but then he finds out Saeed's back, and it's just like, oh, this could go poorly.
Yeah, he's like, he lays out why this whole infiltration plan is dumb, but it's like, it's less dumb when it works. So,
Yeah. We get Boone explaining the concept of a red shirt to Locke, which Locke is like, oh, sounds like the captain was bad, which I bet most Star Trek fans would get mad at.
yeah, I mean, I do like that he points out, he's like, yeah, there are just expendable people when you go traveling, apparently, in...
Yeah, and I mean, there's expendable people on the island, because I've seen them get expended.
And so Boone asks, what did Locke do that, in the real world that made him so good? And he tells him the truth. He's like, I work at a box company. And he doesn't believe him.
There are so many levels of irony in this, because he did work at a box company, and he did kind of just become badass after being vaguely pathetic for a lot of his life. And Boone doesn't believe him, but at the same time, Locke is also leaving out that he did work as a guard at a illegal weed farm.
That's, they should have kept leaving that out. Just...
But if he told Boone that, Boone would have believed it.
Yeah, but I still
just
barely believe it, and I watched it happen with my own eyes.
I'm just kind of enjoying referencing it as much as possible to cope,
Yeah. Just wait till
So
we get to
we
the
get
Thailand
the-
stuff.
So we get the Kate thing. We already talked about that, and then Sawyer wakes up. Well, he goes to Saeed. Saeed wakes up. Sawyer is still being vaguely racist.
That's not gonna stop.
Yeah, but he sort of thinks the island has already punished Saeed in a karmic way, and you can sort of tell here he's acting threatening, but he's not going to do anything.
Yeah, especially because Saeed's just like, I met the French woman, and I think there are other people on the island, and whatever. That's.
And then they have the whole maybe. It's just a big maybe to both of them.
Even though it's the answer is yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, okay, so here's the thing. They also mentioned the tide is coming up on the beach. Now, I don't know this for sure. Maybe there's a press release I could have read or something that would explain this. I didn't dig too far because I think I already know the answer, which is having the set with all the plane wreckage just wasn't very feasible all the time. So they're moving...
They just want it...
Yeah, they're moving up to a different section of the beach where they won't have the main fuselage and everything, but it'll just be like, oh, they have all their tents made out of plane wreckage and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's fair.
It's fine. And then the one they're moving to now is going to be the main camp for the rest of the show. So
Yeah. I was like, this feels like a really pointless plot, but that's a decent reason for it, for the production.
yeah, what I feel like happened is they made the whole storyline of beach versus caves, and then the people who were actually filming were like, the caves is a set and it's terrible, and then the people on the beach and the people who were pro beach in terms of filming were like, or who were anti beach were like, well, the beach has a set too. It has all the plane wreckage and everything. That's not feasible to keep going multiple seasons. And they said, well, we'll just move to a new beach then. And then we get the best of both worlds. We get the sun, and it's a natural setting.
So then we get the incredible revelation that Hurley once took 17th place in a backgammon tournament.
Yeah, well, I think what's more interesting here, and this is supposed to be the interesting part, is that Walt always gets the roles that he needs.
Yeah. By the way, can I just ask, were the numbers that he rolled on the dice a numbers thing?
No.
Okay. I didn't check. I just thought, I wonder, is it possible?
They weren't. I'm assuming they were just actual numbers that you'd want in how you play backgammon. I don't know. I've never played backgammon.
Oh, it's a simple game.
Yeah. So eventually Hurley leaves, and well, it's like, you owe me $20,000, which.
And yeah, I think Hurley would give it to them.
Yeah, I do find it funny that they're betting with real money on some island.
They're betting with real money and like a lot of real money, and yet not that much to Hurley.
So we get a whole scene with Boone and Locke where Locke's like, oh, it's gonna rain in like 1 minute, and then it does, which is like, that's weird.
And it looks like such fake rain.
Oh yeah, this is fake rain.
But, I'm starting to appreciate Boone here because Boone is so incompetent, but he is still trying. And I like that he's still trying. I like that he's doing his best. And like he's staying with Locke. He's not running away. Boone's a good dude. He's just kind of sucks at everything.
Yeah. Eventually Jack and Kate hear screaming, and they get separated in a really weird way.
Because he slips and climbing some fake-ass looking thing, and they slip. Yeah, and then Ethan is suddenly there and stepping on him, and he's like, I'm going to kill one of them if you don't stop following.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he does. He hangs Charlie. They find him, and then...
Yeah.
They really make you think he's going to die, especially after that whole thing about red shirts and everything. Yeah. But...
So the thing is...
They're even playing the sad life and death song as he's trying to revive him.
Charlie has had way too many flashbacks for me to remotely believe he's going to die. So I was just like, oh no. We're going to have so many more Charlie episodes.
Yeah, but you could see if you were watching this originally where it's like, oh, he went through his whole arc and he gave up drugs and that's the end. He feels like someone you can sacrifice. He feels like somebody who, his send-off was really caring about and protecting Claire. And then we just have such a long, drawn-out experience of Jack doing really shitty CPR on him and then giving up and then trying again. Like, first of all, those compressions were weak. Break his goddamn ribs. Second of all, I'm pretty sure just slamming on it with your fists like a child punches someone. Well, that is kind of a thing. They call it, I believe it's a myocardial thump. It is like a thing. It's not really used anymore. It can help vaguely, but you won't find
it's still shitty CPR.
Medical professionals really using that. It's more something that was from several decades ago that would occasionally be used.
But that was so drawn out. We see Kate crying, just like, accept that he's dead, and Jack accepts it, and then is like, fuck you, no, I refuse to let someone die, I'm Jack. And he slams him more, and it works. And it's like, it was just such a long scene.
Well, also, an explanation I've heard for this is, the island cured Locke's paralysis. The island cured Rose's cancer. It's like the island kind of just seemed to have, like, a healing effect, and that boosted the terrible CPR that Jack was doing.
Okay, random thing. So the island has a healing effect, but back during the time travel when it was giving them headaches and stuff, that was kind of the opposite, and that's because the island was sort of broken at the time.
Yeah.
Huh? Some kind of connection there? I don't think this was intended.
There will be another time flash that you'll see where I think they explain why they were getting headaches from the wheel. And yeah.
They're still, like, if I didn't know that he had too many flashbacks to die, the scene was so drawn out in showing the futility of trying to bring him back to life that I would have believed it.
Yeah. So, Charlie is back at the camp being all sad because they didn't find Claire.
I thought they would have kept chasing Ethan. This is where kind of my tension fell away because I was like, come on, keep chasing Ethan, find him. Maybe Locke is going to find him. But nope, they just bring Charlie back and kind of give up.
Right. Shannon is worried about Boone, and it shows that Locke and Boone have now found the hatch.
Well, yeah, because Boone, in classic Boone fashion, kind of is giving up, and Locke is like, I feel it.
But that's the kind of thing where Locke sees that as a sign. Where, like...
Yeah. And Locke decides to give him the flashback because he needs it more, and the most Boone thing possible happens, where Boone drops the flashback, but it clanks against the hatch, and that's how they find out about it.
Right. So, and here's the thing. Locke will say this later. How do you open a hatch with no levers or handles or anything, right? And the answer is, you're not, because this isn't the main door. We've seen the actual main entrance to this place before in several episodes, right?
Yeah. We saw Daniel.
This is just like, I guess, an emergency escape hatch. It's not meant to be opened from the outside. Yeah. If you walk down this hill, Locke, you will find the door to open.
Yeah, I kind of thought about that. Like, if this is where Desmond is, then like the facility that Desmond in shouldn't be sprawling. The door should be right there. Is it going to be a long time before they find that door? Is it going to feel kind of silly that they never look there?
Yes.
All right.
I will say, when you see the layout of the actual hatch, you'll see the one that goes to the hatch that they have found. It's like a very long, singular hallway to get there, and then the rest of the complex is all together.
So it's not right there.
No, it's not right there. It's like a long hallway kind of thing. You'll see it later.
Okay.
And here's the thing. So originally the show skipped days. This was all day 16. Originally the show skipped day 17, 18, 19, and 20. But luckily we have some of season 2 here to fill in the gaps. So we see 17, and Alicia is digging the pit.
Really sus of Nathan, which is, still the red. He serves as the red shirt and the red herring.
Yeah. Then skip day 18. Day 19, she just attacks Nathan and throws him in a pit.
Yeah. And so I don't think we're ever going to get like an explanation for why he's so vaguely suspicious, because we know it's not him, but then he's going to die, so it's like he was just a kind of weird generic dude.
Right, yeah, but I think it's more to show all just those little paranoia everyone has, where even, and it's like, I never saw him on the flight. I don't remember seeing him at all. And even the flight, the flight attendant is like, I didn't see him either, and I'm pretty good with faces. But he was on the flight. He was with them.
I do not look at people's faces like that.
Exactly, you don't. So they're all so paranoid.
It's always, it's like if you witnessed just someone, like if you just happen to pass by someone on the street, and let's say they committed a crime, and the police then find you and ask you, hey, did you see this person? And it's like, if I saw someone committing a crime, I would remember everything about them. But if I just passed them, and the police were like, what was he wearing? I would be like, I have no idea. Like, you always see people say, like, oh, this person I randomly passed, they had this face. I could describe their face. They had a black shirt and green pants. And I'm like, how do you know? That kind of thing does not stick in my head.
Yeah, I do think it. Again, I have seen this plotline both all scrunched together and in here. I do like that it's showing how much of a rougher time the tail section has had, and how.
I'm not saying this is like a plot hole. I just think they're being over paranoid.
Yeah, but I think that's the point. That's the point that the show is making, is that they're being paranoid. It's not like so anyway,
it sure sucks to not have the ship's manifest.
Yeah, it sucks to not have the manifest.
Yeah, so Nathan's from Canada, because of course he is.
Yeah, which is, I think it was also to lead the viewers on, because Ethan also said he was from Canada. So it was...
Oh. Yeah.
I was a thing to the viewers, like, oh, maybe he really is another.
Yeah, that's one of those chronologically lost ways to experience those. Is that, like, yeah, it's gonna be the reveal that when Goodwin kills him. But for me, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's Goodwin, Juliet's boyfriend.
Yeah, and also, I should say, this is a funny thing, I probably should have mentioned this before, but when I was originally watching Lost, I caught up during the season 4 to 5 hiatus. So I watched seasons 1 through 4 on DVD. And during season 1, it came up that, when Hurley first goes to ask Ethan about stuff, Ethan says he's from Canada. I'm like, oh, they actually have a Canadian. I'm like, let me look up if he's an important character. And then I'm like, oh, I got spoiled right away. Luckily, it was revealed in the next episode, but still.
Well, you know what? Better and other than a Canadian.
You know what? True.
It's funny to me to think like there's no inconsistency or plot hole in Goodwin being Juliet's boyfriend. There's just a level of like they pitched Goodwin's character as this good dude who's with the tail section, but then the one who's secretly another, and it feels like they pitched him as that, and then later on they would have, when they thought of Juliet, they'd be like, oh, maybe Juliet was also in a relationship with Goodwin. Like, it feels like that was just something they added later, but then ironically I experienced that part first.
Yeah, here's the thing. Other than Richard Alpert, who will be sort of introduced later and becomes a very important character, and Ben, who is obviously important as he is the leader, they kind of only have 3 others that they used for everything, and it was Ethan, Goodwin, and one guy you haven't met yet. And that's who they use for like all the...
I mean, there's also Goodwin's wife.
Yeah, but they don't really use her for much.
Uh-huh.
So, obviously this is the start of the next episode when you'd watch originally, but it's just continued here, where Kate's walking through the jungle and Sawyer is stalking her.
All Kate and Sawyer romance bait.
Yeah, and they find this pond, which is the same one where they fell into in the 70s.
I'm not gonna lie, right here, I was just straight up like, show me that hatch, show me what Locke and Boone are doing, because I didn't realize that they wouldn't even be doing anything. I just get Kate and Sawyer swimming around, and...
It does end up being important, though, because they find the Marshal's case.
They're frolicking together. It's goddamn frolicking.
Yeah, I hate it.
But yeah, they find it, and you're not gonna like that I think this, but I'm just like, oh my god, don't be the goddamn model plane.
Yeah, but it was the model plane.
It was the model plane the whole time, and I was hoping it wouldn't be, but of course there was nothing else it could be. What else would make her react like that?
Right. So, can you guess what flashbacks these were?
Oh, I wonder. What was it Kate said? The man she loved, the man she killed.
Right, so which flashbacks were these?
The one where she killed him?
Nope. Bank robbery.
Oh yeah, that does make more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would... Then they still keep up the tension of how... Of like... Oh, how did she kill him? Literal, complete car accident, not...
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's like, oh my god, she killed the man she loved. But it's like, oh, it was like indirectly in a car crash.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, yeah, obviously it wouldn't have happened if not...
Like, and obviously she feels guilty about it, so...
Yeah, guilty, of course, but they're playing with the audience in a way that then they kind of... It's not...
They play with the audience with Kate's backstory so much, because it's like, oh my god, she's a criminal, and she's a murderer, oh, but then, like, when you find out what murder she did, it's, like, the best possible murder to have committed. So, you know, Sawyer just ends up with the Marshal's case, because of course he does.
I don't entirely get why she denies it being hers, or why she, like, lets him have it. My only thought is maybe she thought, oh, if I say it's mine, then he's gonna just not let me have it and take it by force, so I have to play it cool. But it does feel like this entire plot line of trying to get it from Sawyer was, like, sort of unnecessary. I'm not sure, like, why she didn't just claim it originally.
Yeah, I mean, technically it is not hers. There's that. We see the beach is getting destroyed by the tide, and Jack's like, oh, everybody should move to the caves. Which, fuck off, Jack. You're not going to be living at the caves. Like, it's a terrible set.
I like the caves. Anyway, Jack also wants to... Also, I'm also thinking here, like, come on, be searching for Claire, because in my notes here, I had not yet accepted that plotline was not exactly going to move forward quickly.
No, they've just been going there and staring at the hatch, apparently. Which great use of time, guys. You could walk down that hill and find the door.
I'll talk about what they do with the hatch in a bit. But okay.
And also, Boone calls Shannon useless again, which is great.
Yeah. Well, Jack wants to go find Rousseau again with Saeed, maybe get her help to find the others. I don't think this is a bad idea. I don't think they really had a reason to not do this.
Yeah, the reason is they want Rousseau to still be a mystery.
But so, this is where I sort of find out that, like, oh, it's been 4 days of Boone and Locke going out and not getting any boar, And it's just kind of like, what, like, if you know you can't get in, here's the problem. Why are you telling nobody? I get if it's like one of those things where you don't want to tell everybody, but I feel like you'd at least tell Jack. Maybe I'm just used to people telling Jack things.
Yeah, it's just... Locke likes to have his magical secrets.
Yeah, or like, it's like something where you have to put more heads together if you want to figure something out. Then maybe you'll have a new idea. It's like if you're just going there and staring at it, the cliche line about the definition of insanity, you are just trying the same thing over and over. At a certain point, you don't need to be staring at it. You should just go back to hunting boar, but have it in the back of your mind.
Anyway, now we move on to the next episode. I think where we have Shannon sunbathing, and Saeed's like, basically, you're gonna get sunburned, bitch.
Yeah. Well, it feels a little flirtatious for one thing.
Oh, it is.
And I think back to when you asked me after the flashbacks what character dynamics I expected to be focused on. I had a shot-in-the-dark guess of Shannon and Saeed, and you were so shocked that I got it that you just confirmed it.
Yeah, so here it is. This is where their story sort of begins, because he's asking her to translate Rousseau's map.
And she's like, did she like thinks Boone put him up to that because like Boone trying to conspire to make her try to be useful, but like, no, Shannon, this actually is important.
Yeah, we see Sawyer trying to pick the lock, and people laughing at him for trying to pick a Halliburton case.
Yeah, so is that like a thing? Like, I know Halliburton is that like defense contractor company, so yeah, they're gonna make tight security stuff. But they're like, oh, he's trying to pick a Halliburton, as though that's like a thing. Like Hurley laughs at him like for trying to pick a Halliburton, and I just felt really confused by those lines.
Apparently, it is real, and it's the
yeah, it is a real company.
And apparently, it is secure enough that it was the type of briefcase that they used for the nuclear football. So, must be pretty secure.
Yeah, I mean, it must be. It's just like, I have never heard of it. Like, it's like if you say, oh, what's a really well-made car, and then a car brand will come to mind. And if you say, oh, what's a really well-made security briefcase, a name doesn't come to mind to me, especially not Halliburton, even if I know what the company Halliburton is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just confusing to me, but... Yeah, Boone and Locke, they take the axe to try and get into the hatch, which is not going to work at all.
No, it is not. We see Rose has no pity for Charlie not helping.
Oh, Rose is not putting up with this mopey shit.
And see, I was on Rose's side for like 90% of her Rose and Charlie plotline until the very end. Then I was like, ugh. I was like, really? But we'll get there.
We'll get to that. But Rose is just... Because Rose is the one to do it. If anybody else talked to Charlie, he would be like, I lost Claire! And Rose is just like, I lost my husband! Come on.
Yeah, so Sawyer can't break open the case, and as he's trying to, Kate, tries to take it.
Yeah, this whole game, it almost felt like a game of Team Fortress 2 to me, with just the trying to steal the briefcase.
Yeah, then we see Saeed and Shannon working on... the map, and she said she learned French from...
Wait. We can't skip over that they had to put in a Sawyer pinning Kate down scene.
The second one, the second one in the whole...
They just stop. But like, I would much rather watch Shannon than that.
Oh, same.
But then Saeed's doing the math, Shannon's trying to translate it, and... Yeah, she dated a guy who spoke French.
Yeah, and he's kind of getting mad at her translations, but it's like, what she's translating is correct. It just literally has nothing to do with anything. We see that Sun is getting plants, and Kate asks Jax for help because there's guns in the case.
It's just kind of weird to me that Sun is set up as like this folk medicine specialist, this like gardening specialist, when like she grew up as a rich girl.
Yeah, but it feels like that's something rich people do, like gardening.
Is it? I mean, rich people gardening, I guess. Just, I don't know, like, when she gave the eucalyptus, it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel to me like then what would actually get set up in her flashbacks. Like, because it's kind of like one of her main character traits right now, because she's done this more than once. It's like her thing, and yet it's like not actually her thing in her flashbacks.
Well, we have more of Charlie and Rose, and Rose says not to feel guilty and says to ask for help, which would be a great message, but then her message is to ask God for help, so I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, because it's like, they have a very corny ass cut, because she is like, you need to ask for help, and Charlie's like, who will help me? And then the show cuts to the Marshall's grave, which of course has sticks in a crucifix put over it.
Yeah. So Jack specifically buried the Marshal because obviously he feels guilty about having to mercy kill him.
Yeah.
Kate tries to sneak the key away, but fails. We have Shannon, who is, saying the translation doesn't make any sense, and Saeed's kind of getting mad at her for it, so she...
Yeah, they just bitch at each
so
other.
she storms off because, feeling useless and everything. Jack goes to Sawyer to trade medical supplies for the case.
He threatens to withhold the antibiotic, which...
Honestly, he should have been doing that from the start. Like leverage your skills with what you need.
It just feels, I don't know, it does... I think threatening to withhold antibiotics is a little unethical. I think Sawyer was kind of right.
Everything that Sawyer has been doing is unethical, though, so...
But I think Sawyer's right when he says, like, you couldn't do it, Jack.
I believe that season 1 Jack couldn't do it. As we saw in season 5, Jack was willing to let a 12-year-old die. So.
Oh yeah.
He gets there.
He's been through some shit at that point.
Yeah. So they open the case. They get the guns. Kate gets her airplane.
The guns. I get that you're.
Anyway, so everybody moves to the new beach, which is going to be a much better beach to shoot on. Because it has parts that are dirt and not sand.
Rose starts praying.
She says she's still certain Bernard is alive, and Charlie asks her for help, and she says, I'm not the one who can help you, and it's just like, that's where this plot line was going, really? I'm like, on the one hand,
and
it's like weird, on the one hand, it's just like, because one, like, God isn't on this island, and it's like, but two, God is on this island, but he's like an actual person you can talk to, so.
Yeah, but then also, like, I'll give it that it fits with Charlie because there was a lot of religious stuff in his flashbacks. So it's not like completely new for him.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's not like she's trying to convert him. Like, it's somebody who does have a religious background.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, Shannon comes up to Saeed and she is just using an example to say, she is just repeating some song lyrics over and over. But the way she explains it makes me think, is Rousseau writing something from Finding Nemo over and over? Finding Nemo wasn't out yet. I was so confused for a moment.
Yeah, okay, so the point is, there's a very famous old French song called La Mer, which is what Rousseau was writing. And eventually, the song La Mer was turned into an English song called Beyond the Sea, which was used in the credits of Finding Nemo.
Okay.
So that's how that went. It's actually funny, people looked into this afterwards, because like, oh yeah, of course they would use the original French version in the French version of Finding Nemo. They didn't. They used the English song, so that doesn't check out. But whatever. Yeah, it's like, that's how she would know that song. That makes sense. It does add up.
So then Boone, she's singing for Saeed. They're all happy, and Boone is like so mad.
I mean, Boone is in love with her. That's
which is I still disapprove of. Don't get me wrong. I still am like, don't cut that off. Cut that off.
Well, we see Nathan is still in the pit, but Echo has been sneaking him food. And even Goodwin is saying that Anna is being too intense.
Yeah.
And
I think Goodwin is too intense.
Goodwin says just let him go, and Anna says no, I'm going to cut off his finger.
Yeah, so then in the night, Goodwin, Also, there's a moment where I think Goodwin asks if she has kids, and I think, was this with Alicia's flashback? Because that does suck for her.
I want to say I don't think so, but it may have. Well, when we get there, I will let you know.
Yeah, well, anyway, Goodwin lets him out, and I'm like, oh, Goodwin is being a good man because he doesn't want someone else to be tortured for what he knows he did. And then, nope, just breaks his neck.
Yeah, I mean, you can you can not want to be found out and also still be against torture. That's...
Yeah. I mean, I get the motivation. It just reminded me, he really is one of them. So then we get more of Boone just looking angry because Saeed is talking to his sister.
Yeah, brings her some
Saeed
shoes
even
as
has
a gift.
He has a present for her, which is like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah, Hurley asked them, why aren't you catching any more? Which is a fair question.
Yeah, like I said, if you're not accomplishing anything with the hatch, just catch some boar and think about it while you're catching boar.
Yeah, but they needed to entice the audience to think that something might happen with the hatch at some point.
Yeah. So, Boone confronts Slade, and it goes like this. Stay away from my sister. For a moment, you seem to be giving me an order. Because Saeed does not give a shit, and he knows that he could beat Boone's ass.
Yeah, so you want to guess what flashbacks these were?
Is it the Boone stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they all, Boone only had two flashbacks.
Is it when he went... Yeah, is it when he went to...
Yes, it's when he went to Australia to beat up the thing. Which I guess if your idea is Shannon is always attracted to, shitbags, then clearly this guy must suck, and so I have to keep her away.
Yeah.
And also I'm in love with her, so... So they're at the hatch, not really doing much. Anyway, so...
And Locke has been telling Boone that, like you gotta put aside your differences, and Saeed's a good dude, but they're just not doing anything, yeah.
Yeah, so Anna and Goodwin wake up in a thing where they're, clearly pushing, some sort of Anna-Goodwin relationship tension, maybe, kind of thing, because they hadn't even thought of the character of Juliet yet, so...
Yeah.
Honestly, not gonna lie. I see more chemistry between Anna and Goodwin.
Oh yeah, so I'm not here for Juliet and Goodwin's relationship, but I think I should mention a lot of my waiting for the others plotline to really get going and all of that. A lot of that is just me waiting for Juliet to finally be in the show.
Yeah, also, for a, kind of looking, guy in his 40s at least. Goodwin sure gets around with his wife and then Juliet.
Yeah.
And now
he looks like he's in his 40s but didn't age well.
Yeah.
But
hey, I guess when you're on an island.
He doesn't look old, he just looks like he doesn't have good skin, no offense.
Yeah, that's true. It reminds me of this joke on Big Brother, where this very ugly guy got with, I think, 3 different girls during the course of the show and being in the jury house. And people were like, how do they keep going for this ugly dude? And the answer is, there's no one else around. That's how. Pickings are slim.
Anyway, Hurley invokes doctor-patient confidentiality because he has been having stomach issues.
Yeah, because he's not having any protein, especially after...
He's eating only fruit.
Yeah, especially after Jin won't give him fish because of that first day where he refused.
So is Jin actually not giving him fish?
I just think he's not offering it.
Yeah, I think if Hurley just goes and asks for it, Jin doesn't care.
Yeah, so then we see Sun has a garden, which is a thing. This is a rich person thing. Maybe not so much nowadays, maybe more it's having a garden. I remember reading something, though, of in ancient Greece, that was a good hobby for the rich people to have, is they would have a garden, and they would tend to it, and that would just be how they spent their day. But in Sparta, because that was seen as work, the only thing that rich Spartans apparently had to do was either throw parties or go hunting for sport, Um, and so they have this sort of upper class Spartan guy who he travels to Greece, and he goes to Crete, I believe, and he meets like this princess of Crete, and she gardens and she spends her day gardening, and he is so confused by this. He's like, why would you go? Why wouldn't you just have your servants garden for you? Why are you gardening? Like, don't you have anything better to do with your time? And she's like, no, I don't.
Sure.
Like, I like to garden.
Yeah. I mean, my dad gardens because he likes to do it.
So Kate thinks Locke is
Anyway.
just choosing not to hunt for everyone because it's too much of a burden, and maybe...
Which, no, Locke's reason for that is worse.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds like you're giving too much credit to Locke here. Locke is sitting looking at a hatch because of something Michelangelo said, which is just...
Yeah. This isn't art, Locke. This is a door.
Yeah. This is a manual task that must be completed by walking down this hill.
Yeah, so Hurley asks Jin where they get fish, and Jin is like, I don't know what he's saying, but he seems like he's acting friendly. I want to see more of the real Jin that I know, who isn't an abusive ass.
Yeah, Boone says he doesn't want to keep the secret of the hat.
Also, wait, where did Jin get the nets?
They came on the island, or from the plane, something. I don't know.
Huh.
I'm sure you could I don't know. You just have those nets. They're...
Alright. I mean, there's possibilities. I'm just not even sure which it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Boone says he doesn't want to keep the secret of the hatch anymore, so Locke knocks him out and ties him up and spreads some stuff on his wounds.
Is he... Okay, first of all, Locke was getting that stuff ready before he knocked Boone out, so it seemed like he was planning on it. Second, what I got from this wasn't like he can't let people know about the hatch. It was that he was trying to teach Boone to let go of Shannon.
Yeah, that is what he's trying to do.
So, it's not as justified as how he helped Charlie. It's really not.
No, it's not.
You're kind of forcing it on him. You're kind of like, yeah, does Boone need it? Yeah, violence is not really the answer. A whole bondage setup is not the answer. I don't know why you expect him to be able to cut himself free once he's, like, ready. I don't know, Locke. I feel like you're overstepping here.
Oh, absolutely. But now we're going to pick up on everybody's favorite plot line with Nikki and Paulo, where Nikki goes to Arst, and he is collecting a bunch of new insects, because he's like, oh my god, there's so much discoveries to be made here. He's also collected a very venomous spider.
This was just weird to me, because he just had shelves, and I was like, I don't know, something about him having shelves and jars. I mean, it's all, like, I guess believable that you can have those, but it felt like stuff they didn't really, like, him just having shelves for his science stuff just didn't feel like what the level of setup they were supposed to have on the beach.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And so Paulo is mad she wouldn't talk to this guy, and it's like, oh, we slept with Zuckerman, so why wouldn't you sleep with this guy? It's just like...
Yeah, so...
Anyway, so they find Yemi's plane, and below it,
they find the
another
cocaine plane. The cocaine plane.
Yeah.
So, you know where the pilot sits in a cocaine plane?
It's a heroin plane.
Oh, it was the heroin plane. Shit, you're right. I wanted to make a pun where I said the coke pit, but you're right, it's not coke, it's heroin. God damn it.
Right. So they find this other hatch, and Nikki's just like, I don't care about it.
Right by it. So, I had to talk to you about this before we recorded. I asked you, was this some kind of joke webisode that's like a joke about how Nikki and Paulo don't give a shit, they just ignore this obviously plot important thing, and you told me no, this is still part of their flashback.
Oh, okay.
Also
Well,
makes
hold
sense.
on. just because it was an actual main episode and this is part of their flashback doesn't mean it was a joke that they didn't care about all this interesting shit. Like, it was, by the time they showed this in the show, all the rest of the characters had already found the plane, and they found that hatch. Okay. And this was just like this did make people mad. Then it's like, are you serious? They found this and just never told anyone? Are you kidding me?
But see, that's funny, but then, to me, I was just like, if this, like, knowing it's from later seasons, it's like, okay, ha ha ha. But watching it this way, just getting all the hype for the hatch and the others, and then realizing that nothing was going to progress with that for a while, getting this felt like Chronologically Lost giving me the biggest middle finger.
That's fair enough. I mean, it was a choice that the writers made for this scene.
I mean, it's funny. The writers were having fun there.
Yeah. So, Kate is just kind of like mindlessly talking to Sun, but based on her reactions, figures out she knows English.
Yeah, it's funny, because, like, before I realized this scene would be Sun accidentally revealing herself, it was just like, wow, Kate, you're kind of just treating Sun as a prop to talk to vent to when she doesn't know anything, but at the same time, you don't know she does something, so actually, you should keep talking, just so, because Sun is understanding it. You just don't, like, it's just this mix of whether or not I think she should be talking. But then, yeah, I really liked seeing Kate realize it, and I really liked seeing Sun being like, please don't tell anyone. I think, just good scene.
Yeah. And then we get the best ending to any episode, where Hurley steps on a sea urchin and is yelling at Jin to pee on it, and boom, cut, end of episode.
Is this even gonna be a problem? Like,
it's a sea urchin. You can just pull out the thing and let it heal. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not like I don't think this is gonna be like, oh, we have to heal Hurley. I think that this is gonna be fine.
Yeah, it's just a tiny little thing that you just pull out and you're fine.
I love how he's like gesturing at Jin's dick, and Jin is just clearly like, what the fuck?
Yeah, especially because he probably even knows that that's not how anything works.
Yeah. I've mentioned it before, but I still like that Jin became a fisherman like his father.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And I haven't seen much dialogue from him, but it feels like he accepts it. It feels like he's like sort of come to terms with it, and I think that's nice.
Right. So, I'm going to ask you, of the two sort of major plot lines that they have now put out here, with the others and with the hatch, which one would you like to see resolved first?
First? Well, first is a hard question to answer. Either is my answer to that.
But if you had to choose, would you rather they get into the hatch and meet Desmond, or would you rather they meet the rest of the others?
I think opening the hatch and meeting Desmond has much more immediate reward. Whereas the others is like, that's obviously going to be a way longer term thing. But it is like, I'm not sure how interesting the beginning of the other stuff will be. So I guess I'd rather see the hatch first, but I want both. I want big things to be happening that aren't just fighting over a briefcase with a little model plane in it.
Don't worry, the stakes will get both higher and lower.
Yeah.
I should mention there was this leaked document. I don't know if it was leaked or maybe it was officially put out, of when they were planning for the first half of this season as to what sort of plot lines to do on this island. One of the plot lines that they had for an episode was that there would be ants that were stealing all the food, like literally picking up like cases of food and carrying it away, and that's something that they would do for an episode conflict.
What?
Yeah.
What?
They had no idea what the fuck kind of conflicts to write for the show.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, I mean, we have been making progress through season 1, and I do think that, like, how do I say it? I do think that we're going to get somewhere by the end of Season 1. The Others plotline does exist. It was set up. Just Season 1 is slow and not a ton is happening, but we're going to get somewhere. However, I do not have faith that, like, we're going to get other stuff or Hatch stuff in the next few episodes. I'm preparing myself to still have to be waiting.
What do you think we're going to get in the next few episodes?
I mean, we're obviously going to get this Luck and Boone thing resolved. I would be very down with a Sun and Jin plotline. I want some progression there. I think that Michael would keep the secret, but I think Kate knowing could lead to Kate telling Jack, and just in general the Sun and Jin plotline having something going on. I think that would be good. Not sure what else.
Okay, well, I think that wraps it up for us this time. So I hope you join us next time, where we will be covering episode 36, October 15th to the 18th, and episode 37, October 18th to the 22nd.